we welcome Akshaya Sreenivasan to the show. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well today. It is cold, which is unusual for College Station. So a little change of pace. I kind of like it. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. We watched a lot of movies. I sat and binge watched a couple of shows on Netflix, which was not fun, but it's done.
You thought of it like a job? Like
Yeah.
I have to get through these shows?
Yeah, because see, I have a lot of friends. I grew up in the media industry.
Right.
I have a lot of friends who watch a lot of shows, and they usually end up putting a lot of spoilers on their social feed. So I'm like, I need to get this done before they tell me who killed what or how.
Right.
So I just need to get it done.
So who killed who?
I saw The Witcher.
Oh.
And pretty much everybody killed everybody else.
Everyone killed
Yeah.
everybody else. What else did you watch?
We saw the Star Wars.
Good or bad?
It wasn't as good as the first two, or
Okay.
the seventh and the eighth episode. This
Right.
is the ninth, right? So
Yep.
it wasn't as good as the seventh or the eighth, but it's good. It definitely didn't deserve a 50 or whatever Rotten Tomatoes gave that. I think it definitely deserves a 70, 75 something.
A ringing endorsement. What else did? Okay, but yeah, and then you binge watched. What else did you see?
We saw this show. My husband and I. We saw the show called The Inside Edge. That's on Amazon.
Okay.
It's a very interesting show on cricket.
Oh.
And how the betting mafia kind of takes over the game and what happens inside. And the worst part was we saw the show on Saturday. We saw the second season of the show.
Yeah.
And then yesterday there was an India-West Indies game happening in India. So it was an actual game. And we were looking at some of the game, and we were like, this could be fixed and that could be fixed, because now we got into this mode where everything around us was evil and there was some manipulating person behind the computer.
His name was Kyle.
I know, placing bets all the time. So we were constantly watching the game with the show running in our head, and that was not a fun experience. So,
has there ever been a big cricket point shaving scandal or anything like that?
Oh, a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, several players have been accused in the past, and there used to be the South African cricketer, Hansie Cronje. He was the captain of the South African team. He was one of the most gifted cricketers in the world, and he got caught in a match-fixing scandal. And that was a big letdown, because in the 90s, when we were growing up, I know I sound like a dinosaur now, but in the 90s, he was a big deal. Yeah. And the team was one of the best in the world. So to see your team, which was so good, kind of go down in such fixing scandals, that was not fun.
Yeah. No, that's rough. So Inside Edge was good then?
It was really good.
Okay.
So this is the second season, and they have some big cast. It is an Indian show, but I would say even 70-80% of the show is in English. So, and the rest of it, you can add the subtitles, so you can definitely catch up.
Makes sense. What is your favorite superpower?
Maybe being invisible.
Oh.
That's like a creepy superpower.
It could be.
Yeah, it's like, I know what you're doing. Oh, if the students...
Would your voice sound like that when you were invisible?
No, I should be quiet when invisible, right? Because that's the whole point. So
people won't know you're there.
Yeah. But if a student's going to tell me that, hey, I was really sick or, whatever, and I'm invisible, and I see that they're not sick, then they're really in trouble.
Right. Give us 60 seconds on your road to Maize.
Road to Maize. So I graduated with my PhD in comm. So I'm not your stereotypical marketing business PhD. So I graduated with a PhD in communications from Penn State.
Okay. And
Penn State usually won't hire its own in the comm program. So
is that a common thing? Do a lot of programs not want to hire their own?
Yeah, because they don't want to, they want fresh eyes. They want new research to kind of take place in the institutions. They usually don't hire their own.
Yeah.
So I was looking for jobs, and SMEAL, which is the business school at Penn State, hired me as a clinical professor.
Okay.
And my husband and I, we were very happy. We actually put a down payment on a bigger house. We had a house. We put a down payment on a bigger house. We went and surveyed the land and did all of that. Life was good. My child was going to a very good school in Pennsylvania. Everything was fine. And then...
Oh, the creepy voice. Is that the creepy voice?
Yeah, that's the creepy
invisible voice.
The invisible voice. I shouldn't do Yeah, no, I shouldn't do the invisible voice. This is going to go on YouTube, right? This is going to scare my kids. let's go back to the story.
Right.
All right. So life was all fine in Pennsylvania, and then we get a call in November when it's cold and freezing and miserable.
What year is this?
This is 2015.
Got it.
Right. So it's cold and it's really freezing in November in Pennsylvania, and we get a call from Texas A&M, from Mark Houston, who was the department head at in the Maize Business School, the marketing program. And Mark was like, hey, Hari, Akshaya, Hari's my husband, why don't you all come for a visit to College Station? Just a casual visit, nothing specific. It's not a job talk. Just come and see the place, all the fun stuff. We didn't know we were walking into a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. No, we should have read the signs. But then we walked into it thinking, it's just going to be another visit. We'll go, we'll see the place, give your talk, and, we'll pack our bags and go back home, and we'll continue to do our thing in Pennsylvania, White Christmas and all that fun stuff. But you land here and it's hot in November. So my husband and I, we're holding our hands and we're crying. It's like, why can't life be like this? It's so cold in Pennsylvania and here we're sweating.
Yeah.
It's not just hot, it's humid hot, right? So you actually sweat in Houston.
Yeah.
So we're doing that, and then we're like, we've put the down payment on the house. Let's not waver, right? We're not going to do this, Akshaya. We're not going to do this, Hari. And we continue onward to the hotel. So we reach the hotel room, and there's a bag on the bed. Addressed
and
to
it's full of cash.
No.
Shh. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to tell that part.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
let's cut that.
Kyle, just chop this off. All right, but no. Apart from the cash, there was a note and a gift for my child who was 4, and there was a little doll, Miss Rev, a stuffed Miss Rev doll, and there was a little note to Virat saying, "Dear Virat, I hope you, your mom and dad, have a great time in College Station, Texas. And we want you to feel at home. Love, Department of Marketing." And now we're feeling even more guilty. And my child's already playing with this toy, and we're like, they're so thoughtful. And then we continue onward. We're still telling ourselves, no, we can't do this. We have made a verbal commitment to this home builder. We're going to go back, build the house. Life's just going to be fine. Just don't see that. And we keep walking. And we come here to the department, and everybody is so nice. We just moved. That's the end of the story.
And you kept the bag of cash?
We did keep the bag of cash. It's stashed away in my office, in the 3rd locker, in the 4th shelf.
There you go.
I don't want to tell you the numbers because I know this is going to go online, but it's locked.
That's right.
Yep, it's stashed.
We will make sure it stays secure.
Will we?
The question that everyone has been waiting for, which is not on our script: who's funnier, you or Hari?
I don't know. He would have probably claimed that he's funnier. Hari can spontaneously crack jokes.
True.
But my jokes are intense.
Okay.
So Hari can literally crack a joke for everything. Like yesterday, we were watching the show. I was watching Witcher, and he would creep up behind me, and he would be like, "You shouldn't be watching this."
So he does a creepy voice too.
He does all sorts of voices. He really wanted to get into script writing and comedy. I don't know if he's probably mentioned that like a million times everywhere. He grew up watching, rather idolizing Robin Williams, and he really wanted to be somebody like him. And this other comedian from India, Crazy Mohan.
Oh yeah,
he was really, really funny, and Hari really wanted to go and work for these guys.
Yeah.
So he would keep doing these creepy voices. And like yesterday I was watching Witcher on my phone while I was cooking because I didn't want my child to see the show and, be traumatized. And I didn't want to kill his childhood. But he was reading and Hari was writing, and he would walk in every now and then try to do creepy voices. And it was not fun. Hari can crack a joke for every occasion. Hari will make you laugh, but my jokes are more intense.
Where'd you grow up?
India. So I grew up in Chennai.
Mm-hmm.
I did my schooling, my undergrad and master's in Chennai. I know that sounds like a boring life, but...
Why is that boring?
So in India, we have this thing, especially for the women. that till you're married, you pretty much stay with your parents.
Okay.
So till I was married, I stayed with my parents. And I went to a school where my mother was the principal. I went to a private school, and my mom was the principal.
Mm-hmm.
So people are usually nice to the principal's daughter.
Okay.
Like in good and not good ways, but for the most part, positive sense.
Okay.
And then I went to an all-women's university for my undergrad and master's program.
How many in your family growing up?
So I have an older sibling. She got her undergrad from India and master's from Wisconsin. She used to work for the Harvard Med Center.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a biomedical engineer, and now she is in Portland, Oregon. And my parents, my mom and dad, we had a very big family. So my grandparents also stayed with us. My granddad was 97 when he died. My grandmom was 92 when she died. And they grew up in colonial India. So some of their British isms would pop up every now and then. It's just fascinating when you grow up in such a diverse environment. And my aunt also stayed with us for a really, really long time, for like 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. She was with us in our home. So there were 7 people in the house. Always noisy. The kitchen was always functional. Something was getting cooked every second because some person at some point in time during the day was always hungry. So food was always being made.
Yeah.
There was a lot of noise. I had a nanny at home. We had a maid. We had 2 drivers. It was a situation.
It sounds like a TV show.
Yeah, definitely a soap.
Well, it sounds like you did well financial anyway from your giant bag of cash that they gave you in the hotel room.
I know. Are we still talking about this?
Sorry. What was your first job?
My first job, interestingly, was a radio announcer. I used to work for BBC's Radio 1. Uh-huh. So there's a funny story. So I did my undergrad and master's in India.
Right.
And my master's project, one of my, I think it was my second semester project, was to come up with a 60-minute radio show, mm-hmm. which had jingles and content and everything put together. And we had to edit it, and we had to get it fully done so that it can go live on air. Mm-hmm. And we had a campus radio. So we actually used to broadcast content on that. So the person who came for my final examination, my external examiner, was the programming director for BBC's Radio 1. And he really liked my show. And he was like, maybe you should come and work for us. I was like, nah. He was like, we'll pay you. I'm like, okay, cool. Where do I start?
Where do I sign?
Yeah. So things that you do as an undergrad for money, for a little bit cash here and there is fascinating. So I was a radio announcer. I used to voice a lot of the jingles. I mm-hmm. used to voice a lot of commercials. I could modulate my voice. So I used to have, so I could go from a really, really squeaky rat under the wheel type voice to a very, let's talk about today's news type voice quite easily. So they really liked that. And they were like, you start reading this. And I literally used to sit in a cold recording studio reading scripts, writing scripts, and it was so much fun because you got to do so many things and you saw so many celebrities. It was such a nice experience. So,
who was the most famous person you got to hang out with?
I saw a lot of movie stars.
Yeah.
And these were movie stars from India who were really popular during that time. And my friends back in school, in college, I was still studying when all of this was happening. And they would be like, oh, can you get me a picture? Can you ask this movie star to autograph my book? And you feel popular when you associate yourself with popular celebrities. So that was me. I was like completely cashing. So this added to that fund of ours that we were talking about. Mm-hmm. It was fun. It was really fun. And yeah, I had a great time.
What was your greatest challenge as a child?
My greatest challenge as a child growing up in India was not being a stereotypical Indian.
Oh.
Because I did not go to an engineering school. So to start with, I was a failure.
Okay.
Yeah. So half of my family thought that I was never going to get married. The other half thought that, oh, poor Akshaya, she's going to the arts program because she did not make good grades. I made great grades in high school. It was a choice to go into an undergraduate program in media. She's not going to get a job. She's going to get a low-paying job. She's not doing a sciences program. She's not putting her calculus to use. Her life is doomed. So that was a big challenge.
Yeah.
And then the other challenge was I was very creative. And that's, again, not a very positive thing in a very conservative, mathematically bound Southern Indian family. My dad was an investment banker. He had double masters. My mom was a principal, so she had a master's in ed and she had a master's in botany. My sister was a gold medalist. Her undergrad was in biomedical engineering. She was the first in her university, and she was a valedictorian. She was really good. All of my cousins are engineers. My husband's technically on paper as a mechanical engineer, but he doesn't even know how to switch a light bulb. That's another story. But everybody around me and their fathers and their mothers were engineers. And here I was studying how to make movies and how to write scripts.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought I was whiling away my time. So growing up in that environment where people are constantly judging you for the choices that you make, and these are not bad choices. I mean, I was my university topper in my undergrad program. I graduated with honors in my undergraduate and master's program. Somehow that still didn't come anywhere close to the bar set by your family, extended family members. So.
How did you deal with that internally? What was your way of processing the displeasure that you felt from your extended family?
I just didn't care. I mean, it used to affect me because when I was my first semester in my undergraduate program, I felt quite bad because all of my cousins, my sister, everybody was in the engineering program and they were doing really, really well. So I used to feel bad that maybe if I had done something in engineering and perhaps after my undergrad, I chose to be, I don't know, a movie director or whatever, life would have still been fine. I would have still been accepted. I used to feel guilt. But then beyond the first semester, I was like, you know what? People are never going to be satisfied, no matter what I do.
Well, that's the truth.
And there's always going to be a set of people in your life who are constantly going to judge you, who are always going to be disappointed in you. Even if you're going to win the Nobel Peace Prize tomorrow, somebody will be like, oh, but she didn't win the Nobel Prize for chemistry. If you won the Nobel Prize in chemistry, she was really bad with her physics. She did not make an A+. So people are constantly going to judge you.
True.
So no matter who you are, there's always that section that's always going to be disappointed. So I was like, you know what? Thank you for your advice, but I'm going to walk away from you, and I'm walking away in slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, with the wind blowing in your hair.
Yeah.
And the sunglasses on.
Yep. And the shimmering outfit. Yes, totally did that.
I like it.
Yeah.
Was there a person that was the opposite of that? Was there a person who said, if you said, you know, I think I'm going to go rob a bank today, they would say, you know what, that's a great idea. You should do that. Go rob that bank. You live your life.
You know, interestingly, Hari, my husband, he's to a very large extent, he's like that.
I feel like Hari would say, I'll drive the getaway car.
No, he's totally like, because the other day I was like, you're not supposed to be supporting me on this. Like, you're supposed to be talking sense. He's like, no, do whatever you want. And then a couple of days ago, we were talking about, we were actually doing a detailed plan to rob a bank. I'm sorry, this probably shouldn't go on air. But the other day I was talking to Hari and I was like, I wonder, because we were watching The Italian Job, the movie, and they have a very detailed plan, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if this is possible. Yeah, I wonder if this is possible. What is the probability? So Hari, being Hari, started to work on the probabilities of success and failure. He's a math guy.
Sure.
So he wants to make sure that the numbers align.
Right.
And I was like, maybe, we should get away in this car, which is not it, which pretty much kind of blends into the crowd, not drive a red Ferrari in the middle of, a downtown area, because people are going to start noticing us.
Right.
So we started making this detailed plan, and Hari was actually going along. And then at some point, my 7-year-old walks in. He's like, "Are you guys even serious?" We're like, "You probably shouldn't be listening in on this conversation. This is bad parenting. We're bad influence. Let's just go back to doing what we were doing." So, yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
What interests you the most about broadcasting and journalism? How do you feel like storytelling has changed over the years as media channels have moved from print, radio, and television to digital, social? What draws you to that business these days, and what drew you to that in the first place? I mean, you mentioned your time in radio and how much fun it was.
Storytelling is fun. It's creative.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you didn't have to really confine yourself to a certain type of audience, a certain type of work, challenged me. Because for me, the more challenging a job is, and you don't have to rinse and repeat the same process, it keeps me excited. Like I wake up to something new. I used to work as a news reporter back in India, right after my master's program. And the thing that was the most challenging was, what am I going to report? What am I going to talk about today? What are some of the cool things that I'm going to kind of discover? I don't have to go to a mundane job where I'm there from 9 to 5. I could define my own career. I could define my own path. I could define my own story. I could give it my own spin. And the creativity aspect was what kind of drew me to it. For instance, there was this story that I did once when I was a reporter with NDTV. It was the US-India joint naval conference. And they had a couple of ships off of in the Indian Ocean, Indian ships and the US ships, and they were in this joint patrolling exercise program. I was on this big ship. This was my first time on an actual aircraft carrier. I could see planes land. Simply fascinating. Like, that's something that I've never seen in life before. And for me, the pleasure of being there and seeing that, rather than stuck in a little cubicle where I have to type away a bunch of codes, that's not me. Even now with my job here at Maize, I teach social media marketing. I teach consulting. The classes don't have a mold. I can be as creative as I want. I can keep switching. My slides change every single semester depending on what's happening in the market. So social media, for instance, the slides that I had for my previous semester is not the same for this semester because, Kylie Jenner was nothing 10 years ago and now she's a billionaire. So, and how did she make that billionth dollar? There's a template and you can actually work, like reverse engineer the process and understand it. There's a lot of fun and creativity, and that's something that keeps me going. When somebody puts me in a box, I get very jittery, and I get very uncomfortable. So that's not me. I would have been a terrible engineer anyway. So I'm glad I didn't do that.
How has storytelling changed as the stories have become more incremental? No one reads a 10,000 word report anymore. Those are just called books these days. Listicles seem to be click dominant. How do you feel like narrative has changed as our method of consuming narrative has changed?
I mean, back in the day when you had a 30-minute show, there was 22 minutes of actual content and 8 minutes of, advertising content that used to be filled in 4 to 5 different parts. Start and end, and maybe 2 ad breaks in the middle, or start and end and 1 big ad break in the middle, depending on how the show was structured and how popular the show was.
Right.
These days, our attention span, even in classrooms, students are not willing to listen to you for more than 8 seconds.
Okay.
So the 9th second, you've already lost your students' attention. So unless you flip your slide, you change your slide, you have some kind of a video or an audio content put into it, your students fast asleep. So you are trying to keep it as fresh. And that's the same principle that we see in today's programming. When you look at content, Wall Street Journal, for instance, Wall Street Journal is a very solid newspaper. Its readership has gone down. The number of people actually consuming content on a physical newspaper copy has gone down. But it has transferred in other different ways. For instance, Wall Street Journal does this thing called the What's News. Okay, so every day in the morning, when I'm getting the breakfast ready, when I'm packing the lunch bags for my husband and my kid, Wall Street Journal's news, What's News, is on. So everything that the newspaper has to offer is presented to me in 30 seconds.
The Cliff Notes.
Yep. That's all I need to know. And if I feel like, oh, you know what, that specific topic is super interesting, then I go back and read the whole newspaper. We subscribe to Wall Street Journal. We get the actual physical newspaper. I have time sometimes in the evening, then I sit with the newspaper and I, go through the notes in a very detailed way. But 9 out of 10 days, I just listen to What's News and I'm on my way out of the door. And that's pretty much how we have evolved and we have changed, which is why even on social media platforms, you have channels, you have tasty videos and Vice videos, which are really popular because these are short, crisp videos. They provide the information that you need and you move on. You don't have the time to sit and read a lengthy blog or a newspaper article. And you just need the information these days. And if it's presented to you in the most convenient and quickest way possible, you run with it.
Well, there are 4 things that people will stick around for a longer period of time for. One is kind of what you said, is if you think that there's some kind of something interesting happening there or some sort of insight that you hadn't considered, or the story is really interesting. Number 2 is if it makes you laugh. Number 3 is if it, hits you in the feels. Number 4 is if it makes you angry. And on social media, that's maybe the one that shows up most often. I feel like on Facebook and certainly on Twitter, people are posting most often about what makes them angry.
Right.
And, dropping memes about the other side of the political aisle, whichever side they're on. They meme the other side. And they do it because they're mad. And here at the MasterCast, we try to focus on the first 3. We try not to talk about what makes us angry, unless, I wanted to make another Kyle joke, but I think I'm at my limit for today already. But yeah, we try to lean away from the angry element. But the first 3 we do try to pay attention to: insight, humor, vulnerability, that kind of thing. What did you like and dislike about your career in broadcasting? We've already talked maybe a little bit about what you liked. Right. What were there any downsides to what you were doing?
Every job has its positives and negatives.
Sure.
Right. With broadcasting, the timings were definitely a big negative
challenge. Yeah.
Because sometimes you had to work. There was this one time where I had finished the evening shift. So I was done for the day. Yep. And the cab service, which would usually pick us up from our homes and drop us back, was not available for that evening. Oh. So I just decided to bunker in one of the studio rooms and just grab a sleeping bag and sleep. Oh. So the next day morning, I was waiting for the cab to get back home. And I was woken up at around 5 o'clock, and I was still in my clothes from the previous evening. The day before, right? And the programming director came to me and he said, "The anchor who is supposed to read the morning news is sick. Can you fill in for her?" And I was like, I haven't even brushed my teeth. Right? Yeah. I've been here since last evening, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's 5 in the morning. I was waiting to go home. I was just waiting for my ride. And he was like, "No, we need to go on air in the next 1 hour or something." No, it was the 7 a.m. news. So we need to go on air at 7, and we don't have a person. So usually there are 2 people that take turns to read the breakfast news. I was like, I don't even have clothes. Like, this is not okay. He was like, "Don't worry, we'll set you up." So they found somebody's jacket. The makeup guy was in. I brushed my teeth. Bust up. I was fully decked up. Yeah. Below, I was wearing my pajamas. And I read the breakfast news that day.
I feel like that's the thing that everybody talks about is news anchors doing the news wearing their pajamas or their boxer shorts or whatever under the desk.
And this was an emergency and I was not even prepared for it. So usually when you're reading the morning's news, they give you a rundown. So they give you a heads up as to what is happening. Yeah. And usually they'll mark out words that are really hard to pronounce. Party names, sports stars, people who have difficult names to pronounce.
Right.
They usually let you practice. And this was me looking at the teleprompter and going one after the other because I did not see the rundown. I don't know what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I was just decked up and put in the chair. And I was like, start reading from the teleprompter, go. And I did that. So that was a challenge. And I've done that multiple times when I was with NDTV. It was fun. It's challenging at that point in time, but then when you think about it now, it's a good story to tell your friends. So that has happened multiple times. There have been times when I went and covered this political rally once, and I got hit on my leg, and that was not fun. And a month and a half before I was about to get padded, there was this big news story of the H1N1 virus that was pretty crazy.
The swine flu?
Yep. It was pretty crazy. And when did I report? Maybe August or September? Yeah, September 2009, October 2009, when it was at its peak. And I was reporting from the hospital ward with masks.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I did not tell my parents that, I was in the hospital reporting on this news story.
Yeah.
And my mom saw the news story on TV and she was like, you're getting married in a month. What if you were to fall sick and if you were infected, then it's going to be a nightmare. Like, do you realize how important this is? Da, 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 da. And then I slept on the pavement, the sidewalk once, because we were waiting for this news story from the chief minister's office, and he wouldn't give us the news bite. And he kept saying that, he's still in the talks and he would get out. And my cameraman and we had to sleep outside his office. They wouldn't even let us inside. So we had to sleep out. So it did present itself a bunch of, the profession had a bunch of challenges to deal with. But for the most part, the fun and the excitement kept you going, that all these little things didn't seem like a big hindrance.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely don't regret my time with Radio 1 or at NDTV because I learned a lot. And sometimes these experiences make you a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in a very conservative family where you have your grandparents, you have nannies and maids and drivers to pretty much take care of every need, to, I don't know, sleeping on the pavement.
Yeah.
That's fun. And that teaches you a lot of things that you're previously not. When you grow up in a bubble and then you're exposed to new things, you're like, ooh, this is interesting. This is talent. This is how people live. This is what normal people do.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting perspective.
I slept in a moving truck once. I don't know if I've ever slept outside. I mean, other than like on camping trips. I am not into camping, by the way. For anyone who is into camping, God love you. Not my thing. But I slept in a moving truck once. I think it was the first night I got to Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. I couldn't really afford a hotel room. But that's another story. You mentioned that you teach social media marketing, that you teach consulting. What is your favorite course to teach? And within that, do you have like a favorite lecture that you give?
The class itself is fun. Both the social media and the consulting class is fun.
Okay.
The consulting class is fun because of the client. So 200 of the 300 points in the class is the client project. So it's a full-fledged project. This semester we worked with Taco Bell. And Taco Bell is a popular brand here in the U.S.
You don't say. Mm-hmm. It's a popular brand in the Wiggins house too. We try not to talk about it publicly.
We don't taco about it. But yeah, I'm sorry. I had to throw that in. But in India, or even in Asia per se, it's not a very popular or recognized brand. Because to start with, Taco Bell's not entirely American food. It's not pizza.
You don't say.
It's not pizza. It's not burgers. Right. It's not fries.
It's not hot dogs.
It's not hot dogs. It's Mexican American.
Yeah.
And then when you take it to India, it's 2 degrees separated.
Okay.
So is it American food or is it Mexican food? So there's that branding issue in the Indian consumer's mind.
Yeah, I get that.
And Taco Bell decided to go, they have 30 some stores in India now, 32, 33 stores in India.
Huh.
And they have decided to open 600 stores in the next couple of years.
Wow.
So they're going out with their guns blazing and they really want to expand.
Let's do it.
So we spoke to the president of Taco Bell International, Liz Williams. She actually Skyped into my class and she mentioned about, some of their strategies that they're really working on.
Yeah.
And for my consulting class, that was interesting because now the students are interviewing people from groups of people from India about their tastes and preferences, whether they would be accepting of this food, and how should Taco Bell present itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what are some of the interesting advertising campaigns that Taco Bell should run in order to present itself to the Indian market? For instance, here during the baseball season, they have Steal a Base, Steal a Taco campaign that Taco Bell usually runs. So every time somebody is able to steal a base and you go to Taco Bell, you're able to get free taco. There was some promotional campaign that Taco Bell was running this past season.
Mm-hmm.
How can you potentially translate that to an Indian audience? Maybe every time, we don't have baseball in India, but maybe every time somebody hits a 6 or a 4 in a cricket game, you can, get free tacos or you can get discounted tacos.
Mm-hmm.
Taco Bell also started advertising on some of the Netflix original Amazon type shows because in India, because those are the kind of target audiences that they're going after. Urban, literate, young crowd that has the spending capacity to spend $200, 200 rupees a meal, not dollars, 200 rupees a meal, which is equivalent of $2-3. So pretty much similar prices to what we pay here.
I feel like I spend $200 for a meal at Taco Bell sometimes.
That's a lot of money. You should be their brand mascot because they would really appreciate your sales.
I don't know if they would want me out there.
But
talking about late night eating.
Let's not go there. I'm in the same boat with you. That's when I'm watching my Netflix show and I'm like, I need food, and it's not a healthy thing.
They made me watch The Witcher. Give me more Taco Bell.
I know. I need more food. It's Netflix's fault.
Right.
Yeah, that I'm gaining weight. No. This is bad PR. And I teach PR for a living. So Taco Bell was an interesting project for our consulting class. Mm-hmm. And for the social media class, we worked with HEB.
Okay.
And the folks from HEB actually drove in from San Antonio for our final presentation. Yeah. They gave gift cards to the top 3 teams.
Yeah.
They gave them grocery shopping cards with the kids like, because, $100 worth of groceries is still $100 that you don't have to spend.
Right.
Right?
Right, because I spent it on Taco Bell.
But yeah, that's because you spent it on your late night snacking at Taco Bell. So HEB was fun to work with, and they were both Taco Bell. I mean, if the president of Taco Bell International, the person who is calling the shots for pretty much everything outside of the US is Skyping into your class and answering your students' questions for 1 whole hour, that says something about the brand and how much they want to work with the Maize Business School and Texas A&M. And that's the same case with HEB. So class-wise, both these classes, again, going back to the whole creative aspect, they challenge not just the students, they challenge me.
Mm-hmm.
And every semester we work with a new client, and it's fascinating the problems that they deal with, whether it's a branding problem or whether it's, we worked with a tractor company in Houston, an Asian tractor brand in the B2B sector a couple of years ago for our consulting project. The tractor company, Mahindra.
I was hoping that was it. I see their billboards around.
I know this. They're so popular. They are the world's largest selling tractors. So in terms of volume, they sell the most. But when it comes to the US, the name Mahindra for a start is muddled up. It's a very Asian name.
Mm-hmm.
And people sometimes go as Matilda, Miranda, everything other than Mahindra. So our students worked with them for a whole year. So 2 semesters of consulting classes worked with them. And we tried to kind of help them understand what their consumers were thinking about the brand.
Yeah.
And if there was a potential consumer in the tractor market wanting to buy a tractor, how do you potentially reach this person?
Yeah.
For our students, it was a challenging project because unlike Taco Bell or toothpaste or things that they're used to kind of consuming.
Right, they're in the market.
Right. tractors are something that they don't use every day. Right. So for them, going to the factory, visiting the factory, getting on a tractor was like, oh my God, what does this button do? And they were on the tractors trying to, the big heavy duty machines. And they have a big facility.
Crashing through the wall.
No, they did not do that because they always had a safety operator next to them.
Right.
But they were literally pushing buttons and they were so happy. These are students in the business school who are getting an undergraduate degree in business who are fascinated by colorful buttons in a tractor. Yeah. And they were happy to push it up and down and see the crane go up and the forklift go up and down.
What has been the most interesting topic that you have lectured about in the last few years in terms of social media or consulting? Really, what has changed the most? What has surprised you in terms of how the fields have changed?
I mean, consulting or even marketing strategy per se, if you looked at some of the older principles that we've used in the past, they were more product-centric. So they would work in a world where, you have machines and products being produced one after the other, and the consumer would blindly go and purchase these things without really having a say in what they want.
All right.
So this was the world back in the 60s and the 70s where, there's one car company that would mass produce a single vehicle.
Right.
And everybody would end up buying the same vehicle because that's all you had. But today you are in a very customer-centric world. So the customer pretty much decides what he or she wants.
Yeah.
So when we are preparing our students for a challenging environment, we move from a very product-specific, product-centric lecture topics to a more customer-centric lecture topics, where we are asking the consultants, where we are asking our students to think from the perspective of the customer. Why is that this product, or why does Starbucks matter to me? Like, what does Starbucks convey to me that some of the other coffee companies are not able to deliver?
Right.
Beyond just the coffee, the fact that I'm holding a Starbucks cup is a sense of pride.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
I am not drinking a $1 coffee. I'm spending $3 for the same coffee. But it carries a sense of pride. It carries a sense of, belonging to a certain group of the society.
Yeah.
Customers want to be in that category, which is why the product really sells.
Yeah, you want to be in the club.
You want to be in the in-group.
Yeah.
So if you look at it from the customer's perspective, your whole world kind of changes. The same principle applies to pretty much everything that's available in the market, right? From your cars to your shoes to, there are companies out there where that are making shoes based on the colors that you want, based on the fabric that you want, based on your shoe size. Most often, your left feet is not the same as your right feet. There's a little difference between the left and the right feet. So you can get 11 on your right feet and 11.5 on your left feet.
Huh.
But that's not available in the store when you walk into the store.
Right.
You just get a bigger size and, you wiggle one of your feet into it, hoping that you won't slip out of it.
Right.
But when you can get customized shoes, you're looking at your shoe now. When you can get customized shoes based on your tastes and preferences, that's just fascinating.
Yeah.
Customers are more conscious about what they put in their bodies.
Yeah.
How they spend their money on ecologically sensitive, environment-friendly products. Plastic recycled shoes that are made from recycled plastics. Products that are made from recycled fabric. Cups that tell you that, this is actually 70% of an old paper cup or, this is reused.
Mm-hmm.
People are getting more conscious about what they're putting in their body and what they're consuming. And that's more of a customer-centric perspective. So products have to change. I don't want to drink a PET bottle, the entire content of a PET bottle anymore. I just want a small sip of that soda for my craving and move on with it, which is why Pepsi, Coke, and pretty much every company in the world is shrinking the size of the can because all I need is one sip to take care of my craving and I can move on. And that's helping. The fact that Coca-Cola in 2009 onwards was able to come up with this customized can with your names on it was a big hit.
Yeah.
Because you felt that, this is my cup because it has my name on it. I'm going to run with it. That's what the customer really wants. And even if a company like Coke and Pepsi, the giants, they're able to alter how they present their products. They're able to, the smaller companies pretty much have to follow the customer's path.
What are the newest ways that businesses are leveraging social media marketing? Like Trader Joe's now has Instagram influencers. What's next?
I mean, the influencers are not going anywhere. For instance, I keep using this example in my class all the time. Think of a world when there was no social media.
Yeah.
How do you think the Kardashians would have made their money? If there was no Instagram, if there was no Facebook, if there was no Twitter, there was no Snapchat. I mean, the fact that Kylie Jenner once told on Twitter that's the new Snapchat feature sucked. And then the stocks of that company fell based on her one tweet that this new update was really not helping her.
Right.
Shows the power of these influencers.
Yeah.
And the influencers have benefited from the platforms. The platforms have benefited immensely from these influencers. So they're still going to be there. They're going to continue. And we as consumers, we trust people that look like us, that talk like us, rather than it's coming from somebody way up above. Back in the 60s and the 70s, when you had a TV commercial and you had a popular movie star attesting a specific brand, you'd be like, oh my God, thou has spoken. I need to follow what he has said. I need to get that product because it sounds so cool. This person sounds so legit. But now when you have an influencer who's a stay-at-home mom, okay, she has to go through the same trauma that you pretty much have to experience. Changing the baby's diapers, trying out different formulas to see what works and what doesn't work. Maybe this formula is too gassy for my kid. Maybe this formula is the perfect mixture for my baby. Maybe these diapers are not the best choice for my child. You relate to this person. You relate to the problems that this person is kind of experiencing. And then you are kind of able to associate and you're able to believe this person rather than this is coming from a celebrity who has not really done much of the work raising the child. Right. So you trust this influencer who looks like you. And that's how people have made the influencers have made their money. For instance, Michelle Phan, the YouTube star from Boston, she was just an everyday kid from Boston who really loved doing, makeup. She started her own vlog on YouTube where she talked about different products and different, combinations of products that you're supposed to use to attain a specific makeup look. People really liked her because she was relatable. She was just an everyday kid and she would tell you DIY hacks. She got so popular that one of the big beauty brands signed her up as their brand ambassador and launched a whole new product line, which is Michelle Phan line with this new beauty, with this company. And she became a sensation and she made a lot of money. She's now so tired that she's taken a step back. Or PewDiePie, the gamer who plays a lot on YouTube. He's been product placing for a while now. He has all these products that he talks about while he's gaming, the energy drink that he drinks, the coffee that he drinks, or, little things that he keeps. He's an influencer in many ways because people that are watching him play, they're listening to what he's saying. Oh, I want to be like PewDiePie. He was just a regular guy who started to game and he's drinking this coffee now that's giving him the rush that he needs. I want to be like him. I'll give you another example. My 7-year-old wants to be a YouTube star.
I feel like every kid wants to be a YouTube star now.
Every kid wants to be a YouTube star because they want to make quick money. And I asked him, buddy, don't you want to be a doctor, engineer? He's like, yeah, I'll do that too. But, I was like, why is that you want to be a YouTube star? So he told me about this 8-year-old kid, Asian kid, who has made $25 million by posting videos. And these are unboxing videos. The time that children spend watching other people open stuff is ridiculous. I don't know what kind of, sense of gratification that people obtain when they see people opening the boxes slowly. And you see the number of views, like millions and millions of people have watched that. These are boxes being opened. It's not rocket science. Why are people watching it? I mean, there should be a paper. I hope somebody's working on it. There's a research paper on it, hopefully.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating, right? These unboxing videos. And this child, this kid, the millionaire, I don't even have $25 in my wallet, let alone $25 million. And I work in the business school and I have a PhD. So this 8-year-old kid started at when he was 4. And his mom started taping when his little fingers used to open Christmas presents and stuff. And now he's an overnight YouTube sensation. And he's standing in front of the cameras talking about baby products. I'm like, whoa. So my 7-year-old showed me that video and he said, I want to be that. I'm like, you need to go to grad school. Like, stop, like right there. So it's fascinating to see how the platforms have evolved.
Yeah.
And how the platforms have made us think in interesting ways.
To me, the untold story of child YouTube sensations is always the parents.
Yeah.
It's what is going on with the parents. And usually I feel like it's not necessarily good news. I feel like there are a lot of stage parents in that world, and it's very rarely like the kid just decided they were going to do everything. I feel like normally the parents are directing the show, the parents are producing the show, and I worry about their motivations a lot, actually. That's something I've thought about a lot lately.
But then the fact that others are kind of following, like I have nieces who are 8 and 4, and they are obsessed with this YouTube star, Jojo Seaver, the kid with the bright, boy, you're giggling. So the kid with the bright pink hairbands.
Okay.
She is all over. Wait, you have not seen Jojo Seaver? You're missing out on life, buddy. You need to go catch up. So she's this popular star, and there are so many colors in her outfit. I'm like, I don't even know how the children sit in front of in front of their TV sets and watch her. It's so childish. She lives in this world where she writes about songs on unicorns. I'm like, yeah. So I'm having a conversation with my 8-year-old niece. I'm like, unicorns are not real. And she's like, you're a killjoy. I'm like, no. Like
you're murdering my childhood.
Yeah, you're spoiling it. Like, stop. I'm like, we were sitting and watching this show on YouTube. And I'm sitting right there and I'm like, that's all staged. She's like, no. And then she wanted this big bow that the character Jojo was wearing. So I went online. It was like $8. I'm not spending $8 on a bow. I can like tie a bunch of ribbons together, like staple it and put it on your head. I am not spending $8 on a Jojo Seaver hair bow.
Right.
And then she was like, oh, I need the unicorn dress because unicorns are so pretty. I'm like, unicorns are not real. She's like, stop it. And then she started yelling and she lost it and she was calling her mom. She's like, Akshaya, auntie is being so rude and she's not being nice. She's not playing nice. And my sister was like, can you just stop? Like, you're really killing her childhood. Like, you need to leave this place. Because as marketers, we're looking at it. We're like, this is staged. There's no way that the child suddenly decided that she wanted to be a YouTube star and she started writing. So going back to your point, yes, most of it is staged. But little does the viewer, especially when you're 6 and 7, know that all of this is in a different world. You just want to blindly follow.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, you only see the front. You only see the front of it. Different subject briefly. As you prepare for an international course trip to India.
Yeah, I'm actually leaving in like a couple of days, 27th.
There you go. Mm-hmm. What do you hope your students get out of the process of this?
So the India study abroad is very interesting and challenging at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our students, I think I might have mentioned this at the start of the session, most of our students that go to school here at A&M or even other schools in the US, they grow up in a very shielded environment. So there's very little knowledge that they have about the outside world. The study abroad programs kind of help us and help the students understand how business environments operate outside of the US.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the principles and rules that we have here does not really apply to the principles, does not match the principles and the rules that we have for some of the companies outside. Mm-hmm. In India, for instance. The Asian markets are very different. So the India business trip that we are taking the next few days, we're going on this trip on the 27th and we'll be back on the 10th. looks at businesses ranging from small scale to large scale to manufacturing to IT to pretty much everything across different sectors. And it will help the students understand how these companies operate in a very challenging environment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number one. Number two, the culture in which you operate, going back to the principles of customer centricity. Why Taco Bell works here is different from why Taco Bell will work in India. The audiences are different. They have different lifestyles, preferences, tastes, and wants. For instance, Dunkin' Donuts. We love Dunkin' here. It's one of the most popular coffee brands. But when they tried to get into the Asian markets, in China and in India, they had to leave. I think in China, they left 2 times and then they reintroduced their brand. So they did a survey to understand what was really happening. Sugar is not the first thing that the Asians prefer to start the day with.
Okay.
So when you look at the offerings at Dunkin', what are the 2 big offerings?
It's coffee and donuts.
Coffee and donuts. Asian markets, your go-to beverage is tea.
Oh.
And Asians prefer something salty, not sweet, not a 500-calorie meal at the start of the day. Sweet is more of a dessert rather than a breakfast. Dunkin' is a grab-and-go place.
Yeah, true.
Breakfast in Asia is a sit-down affair with your family. You don't really sit down with your cutlery and eat your donut, right?
No.
That's not how donuts are eaten.
Right, no.
So it didn't really fit into the Asian landscape. So they had to go back and they've changed their offerings. They offer more teas. They have different types of, savory options that are available.
Mm-hmm.
They had to repackage themselves to fit the Asian markets. So that's just one example. If you look at the companies that are operating in India, they have to mold, to adjust, and to kind of reconfigure to the markets, to the folks that are living in that country. That's something that our students need to understand. Mm-hmm. Because if you're working with a Fortune 500 company, if you're working with a big multinational corporation, you need to design your products to talk to every single audience that you're working with.
Right.
And that's something I want the students to clearly understand and appreciate. The other things, of course, the culture is completely different. Yeah. When you're moving, I remember when I flew in, I'm from Chennai. I come from a city of 6 million people. I think it's more than that right now. I flew in from Chennai to Detroit in December.
Yeah.
So from hot, humid weather, I flew into Detroit in December, and from there to East Lansing, Michigan State.
Right.
And the campus was empty. So you have 20,000 people missing. It's filled with snow. It's just white. The roads are empty. Nobody's there. This was on the 29th of December. Everyone's gone. It was like a ghost town. So when you go to India, it's going to be the complete opposite. These students are not used to seeing so many people for a start.
Right.
So when you walk out of the airport, you're going to see a lot of people, a lot of vehicles. How are you going to cope up to that? The culture is very different. All of that is something new for our students. And I want the students to understand and appreciate and get a new, I want them to get the most out of this new experience and learn something out of it. So
there you go.
Looking forward to that.
Rapid fire.
Yes,
what do
sir.
you consider your most valuable failure?
Not being an engineer.
What do you think is people's biggest misconception of you?
That I'm very sarcastic and I'm intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes my humor comes across as, oh my God, she's threatening me, which I'm not. Yeah.
If you could have anyone as a mentor for one day, who would it be?
I'd really want to probably hang out with Gandhi.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a cool person. Yeah. He was a cool person.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
Yeah, I've heard good things as well. No, the fact that, he was able to mobilize a country without doing much.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
It really is.
Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself exactly 5 years ago?
It's okay to fail.
Yeah.
And sometimes the failures will actually teach you valuable lessons. And it'll actually propel you forward. So don't be scared of it.
What is your fondest memory of Texas A&M?
I have so many.
Besides the big bag of cash.
Besides the big... I have so many good memories. My first football game was magical.
Yeah.
The Aggie War Hymn, and I see the crowd going berserk. And I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, this is fascinating. So my very first Aggie football game was magical. Meeting President Young. We were at South by last year. So my class, we put this class together called Experiential Marketing. It's a brand new course that we are offering in the marketing program, where we work with the Marcom team at Texas A&M. So the students study how to design experiential marketing campaigns. So for a whole week, they are at South by, helping Texas A&M with their installations and all of their experiential campaigns that they run.
Yeah.
I remember last year, President Young was sitting with us and he was playing video games. And he was so into it. And it was fascinating. And he was like high-fiving everybody. And that's a side that you don't get to see. You know, university presidents are usually very serious. They're really stiff and they're research-focused and they really want to, they're serious people. And then you see President Young in his T-shirt and his jeans. He's just a normal person sitting in the esports booth, and he's just playing video games, and he's absolutely like into it, and he's crushing it. That was a great experience. So last year, South by was fascinating. My first football game, of course, was memorable.
Do you have anyone you would like to send some good bull?
Maybe my husband.
He's kind of on fire right now. He's got a lot of good stuff going on.
He has a lot of good stuff going on, which is good.
Yeah.
Which is a happy problem. He's working too much, so he needs to take a step back. And
Ari, stop working so much. Take a step back.
I know, he was up at 5 this morning, and I'm looking at the weather. It's 33. I'm like, no, go back to bed. He's like, no, I have to write. No. So.
Good bull to him. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for watching. We appreciate your support. Drop us a like below and feel free to leave a comment if you wish. We appreciate positivity and constructive feedback. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on our latest episodes and bonus content. You can also take us on the road using your favorite podcast listening app. We have those linked below. If you'd like to know more about Maize Business School or our guests, visit maize.tamu.edu/podcasts. Talk with you soon.